Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to look at something that, honestly, feels like an illusion of magic. It's a cultivation system that looks like it was pulled straight out of a science fiction movie, just full of glowing lights and these massive automated robotics. But the actual truth? It is entirely ruled by the most ruthless, strict economic math imaginable. We're going inside the absolutely fascinating world of vertical farming.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To really understand why this industry even exists, you just need to look at one staggering number. I want you to imagine a relatively tiny half-acre plot of land. Specifically, we're talking about a facility in Westbrook, Maine. Now imagine that this exact same half-acre footprint produces as much food as a traditional 250-acre farm. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about a 500 times multiplier in land use efficiency. It completely redefines what agriculture can look like.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The 500x promise. 2. Inside the pink glow. 3. The economics of salad. 4. The energy and CO2 trap. And 5. Smart synergies.
Section 1. The 500x efficiency promise.
So because this facility operates entirely indoors, they are completely divorced from the weather. By building vertically and using advanced hydroponics, they can grow 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The result of all that? That tiny little plot pumps out roughly 3.5 million pounds of fresh produce annually. To put that into perspective, the average American eats about 155 pounds of vegetables a year, which means this single building has the capacity to feed tens of thousands of people right in its own local community.
Section 2. Inside the pink glow.
The very first thing you'll notice in a state-of-the-art vertical farm is that there are 0 windows in the grow rooms. And you might be wondering, wait, why block out the sun? It's literally free energy. Well, in vertical farming, sunlight is actually a liability. Natural sunlight heats up concrete walls unevenly and creates these unpredictable microclimates, which means your plants end up growing at different speeds. So to solve this, they trade that free energy for 100% LED control. It's wildly expensive, sure, but it ensures exact, flawless consistency across all 42,000 of their customized trays.
At its core, what we're looking at here is advanced hydroponics. The roots of the plants are suspended directly into a circulating, really nutrient-dense solution. No soil whatsoever. And what's truly incredible is the water efficiency. The facility continuously filters this water through 50-micron screens and intense UV light to kill off any bacteria, which lets them recycle about 95% of it right back into the system.
The entire farm is basically just one giant closed-loop machine. It starts down on the ground floor with these vacuum seeding drums that perfectly drop seeds into custom RFID-tagged trays. Those trays then head into a densely packed germination room to sprout. After that, elevators automatically lift them way up to the massive grow racks. Once the greens actually mature, the trays ride a conveyor belt back downstairs, straight through automated cutting blades, dropping the fresh greens into a freezing cold harvest room. Because they're harvested and packaged locally, this ultra-short cold chain means the produce stays fresh for weeks longer than traditional crops.
And this brilliantly illustrates why the whole farm glows blindingly pink. It's actually an economic survival tactic. You see, plants primarily use red and blue light for photosynthesis. But blue LEDs are pretty expensive to run. So their specific lighting recipe leans heavily on red LEDs, which are incredibly cheap. That signature pink glow you always see, it's not a stylistic choice at all. It's strict operational math to prevent any wasted energy.
But perfect light just isn't enough. The plants need perfectly uniform airflow too. Otherwise, those dreaded microclimates come right back. So the engineers designed an airflow system that functions exactly like a giant air hockey table. These massive air handling units push a literal wall of air out through tiny holes and channels right under the growing trays. This guarantees a perfect uniform cushion of air, temperature, and carbon dioxide for every single plant in the entire room.
Section 3. The economics of salad.
Okay, so with all this absolute cutting-edge tech, why are they only growing salad? Well, it comes down to crushing initial capital expenditure, or CapEx. We're talking about an investment of 1,200 to 3,000 euros per square meter of growing space. Look at this breakdown. The HVAC and industrial climate control systems eat up 30 to 35% of the budget right off the bat. The specialized LED lighting takes another 25 to 30%, and the physical racks, automated elevators, and water treatment systems, they consume another 15 to 20%. The financial barrier to entry here is just astronomical.
And the ongoing costs? The OpEx? Yeah, they're just as brutal. This is where our perspective totally shifts from plant biology to unforgiving operational math.
Electricity is the dominant factor here, making up 35 to 45% of the ongoing costs just to run those lights and air conditioners. Human labor still makes up 25 to 35% because obviously you need experts to manage the seeding, harvesting, and packaging. Consumables like seeds and nutrients take up whatever's left.
Because of these staggering initial and operational costs, hitting a return on investment in this industry takes anywhere from 5 to 8 years. You simply cannot survive growing cheap, heavy staple crops like wheat or corn in this kind of environment. You need a yield rate above 95%, which means almost zero crop failure. And you must grow fast-growing, lightweight, high-value crops, like microgreens, basil, and specialty herbs. In this industry, salad greens make salad dollars.
Section 4. The energy and CO2 trap.
So here is a wild fact. When you seal thousands and thousands of plants inside an airtight building, they devour the carbon dioxide in the air incredibly fast. Outside, the Earth just handles this for free. But indoors, if they didn't actively supplement it, the CO2 levels would drop to nothing, and the plants would literally stop growing. To prevent this, the facility has to artificially pump in roughly 30 tons of CO2 every single month just to keep the greens alive. One of our sources actually summed up the reality of this setup perfectly, calling the farm a huge biomechanical creature that eats energy and poop salad. I know it's a funny, slightly gross, but incredibly accurate way to illustrate the delicate, hyper-sanitized balance of this 1.5 megawatt facility. Everything has to be absolutely perfect. If a pathogen somehow gets in, it can wipe out an entire crop cycle in a matter of days.
To manage that immense 1.5 megawatt energy appetite, the farm actively cycles its power usage to play nice with the local utility grid. During the day, when the community's energy demand and power rates are hitting their peak, they cycle their 42,000 LEDs down. This dodges those peak utility charges and reduces the strain on the grid. Then, they just ramp the lights back up at night when power is cheap. To actually make the math work, they aggressively target power rates below 0.15 euros per kilowatt hour.
Section 5. Data centers and smart synergies. Now, what's really interesting here is how vertical farms can literally turn industrial waste into critical fuel. Think about it. A data center produces tons of low-temperature waste heat. A vertical farm can hook into that and use it to slash its HVAC heating costs in the winter. A local biogas plant or brewery produces immense amounts of biogenic CO2 as a byproduct. The farm can pipe that in for literally pennies. Even hydrogen electrolyzers produce heat and pure oxygen, which can be fed directly into the hydroponic water. It's a brilliant ecosystem.
But there's a catch. Physics dictates a strict geographic reality here. You simply cannot pipe low-temperature waste heat miles across a city. It just dissipates. So for these brilliant cross-industry synergies to actually work, vertical farms must be built practically next door to these data centers or biogas plants. We are talking about a co-location distance of less than 500 meters to capture that heat and gas effectively.
When we step back and bring the story down to the human element, we realize that vertical farming isn't really trying to replace traditional agriculture. It's on a mission to fill the gaps where traditional farming fails, like in super-dense urban cities or places with brutally short growing seasons. It delivers locally for vastly longer freshness, and facilities like Vertical Harvest go even further. They use this highly structured environment to provide inclusive jobs, proudly employing a workforce where 40% of the individuals have a disability. It's tech with a real heart.
Let's wrap up with a thought that builds to a much larger vision for our future. If we can engineer a way to turn the waste heat of our digital lives, our endless scrolling, our massive data centers, our servers, into the actual physical leafy green food on our plates, what other impossible industrial synergies are just waiting to be built in our cities? Next time you eat a salad, take a second to think about the incredible math, the LEDs, and the precise airflow that might have grown it. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep your curiosity growing.